Jane 3, January 27th, 2024. We didn't do the very beginning, but we're going to continue on where we are. Go ahead.
Can you tell us what year that stillborn birth was? I assume 17 are the first two digits. Can you give me the second two digits?
Eight. Sort of looks like it's 82, 83-ish, 82. Does that match the dates in the records?
Well, we don't have the record for the stillbirth, and I can't remember.
What year she was called before the...
Well, no, it wasn't dated. 1788 was when they died. I think there was a 1783, 82 or 83 birth would have been the last living child. So yes, right about that time, probably.
Okay.
Was Mary your youngest living child, Polly?
This actually seems to be working a lot better the way you're asking, and I'm allowing your flow to go through this whole thing.
Was
Smoother. Go ahead.
um was one of your daughters killed at the massacre at Nickajack? Is it a daughter that we know of? Hmm. Was it Elizabeth? Was it Polly?
Yeah, pull it up and go through the list of names. Trying to figure it out.
That's what I'm doing.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't logged in.
Stop. Thank you. Feels like there's an M associated with it. Was there a Mary, a Margaret? Feels like it's an M. So I'm getting...
Fanny?
No.
This okay. Margaret, they had a daughter, Margaret, but she married a Hamilton, so I know she lived. Was it a daughter, Sarah? Does it say yes?
It's saying yes. Was there a daughter named Mary, though?
Yeah, that was Polly, and I asked, it was not her.
Okay, okay, but see, that's the thing. Ask it with Mary.
Was Mary the child that was killed on the boat at the massacre in Nickajack?
No.
Okay. Did you call your daughter Elizabeth Betsy?
Yes.
Was the daughter killed on the boat Sarah?
You see it?
Mhm. Was she killed during the initial attack or was she killed after you were taken from the boat?
You can't do it that way. You have to do it one, not is this or that. Just give me the one question.
Did was she killed during the initial attack? No. Was she killed after you were taken from the boat? Was she killed that first day? No. Okay. Was she older than your daughter Mary? No. Was she under the age of 5? Was she under the age of 4? Under the age of 3? She was around 3. Was she with you when she was killed? No. Did Sarah die of natural causes? No. Had she been adopted by an Indian family? Was it an accident?
I got an image in my head. Let me ask. I feel like the image I got, I see this little blonde-haired girl kind of running, like playing, and I feel an arrow. It's just like they're just like target practicing, and she's just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Is that how she died? It was by an accidental arrow? Was little Sarah in the wrong place at the wrong time? Was she playing when she died? Did the arrow strike the left side of her neck? That's what I see. It's like oh man, that's just tragic.
Was she in the village of Nickajack? Was she in the village of Running Water Town?
Okay, so it's going in the middle, so I don't know what that means. Are
Okay.
they the same name or like somewhere in between maybe?
Could be in between. There are two villages that were in that same area. Was she in the same village as her brother Joseph when it happened? Was the woman that was killed following your capture at Nickajack, Mrs. Bays, was she killed because she would not stop crying? Was she killed in front of you? Did your son, Daniel Gillespie Brown, travel with his brothers and his brother-in-law, William, to the Long Island to help launch the boat? Did he travel back to Nashboro with William Anderson? Did your son-in-law, James Hamilton, come along as well on that trip and go back with William Anderson?
It's changing.
Okay.
Sometimes you got to give it a minute.
Okay. Did Daniel and William Anderson take stock, the remaining part of your livestock with them across overland?
My arm needs a rest here. Let's recap when my arm rests.
Okay.
What did you think about what I was given last night?
Um, did I have a question about that? Yes. What is really interesting to me about what you were given last night is that it was very much what was in my head already.
Oh, really? Oh
Yeah.
gosh, that is so crazy.
Yeah.
I'm
Um,
loving it. See, she's already talking to you too.
other than this, I'm really interested with this linseed oil smell. And linseed oil was usually used on raw wood. So I don't know, but I think that's something that I definitely didn't have in my head before. In fact, I had written something already about when she and James met,
Go ahead, I'm listening.
and it was what I wrote was she was barely 16.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Um, let's see, what else had I? And I had read about when you said um, that someone had been killed as an example and
Mm-hmm.
to get her to behave.
Mm-hmm.
I remembered I had read that about that Mrs. Bays. She and her son were on that boat. Her son was one of the sharpshooters that was killed. And I think it was in Helen Rugley's, it was that she was killed the next day because she wouldn't stop crying.
Wow.
Um, I had written that she did not fancy going to Middle Tennessee.
Really? You even had that too? Oh my gosh, I have massive goosebumps. I love it.
I had that she had hesitance to that. In fact, I used her premonitions in the scene that I wrote, the Battle of Alamein.
I
It'll
love it.
when you read it.
Oh
Uh,
my gosh, she's showing me. She goes, "Yes, I had prophetic dreams. I had prophetic dreams."
I knew,
She said it. Huh?
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Oh, look at the light. Look at the light. It just went whoosh.
Yes, yes, yes. That was, when I was going through and writing, look at
Look,
the opening. Um, her brother John and James are having this discussion about her forebodings that she gets.
mm-hmm.
And that James, you know, John says, well, I don't know that I believe in that kind of fanciful stuff. But James's comment was, well, you can't deny she's right more often than she's not.
Look.
So I think that was really interesting that it already fell along what I was kind of thinking.
And if you remember, when I was talking about something, or you were talking about something else, I had already had that image. We had talked about that. So we are sharing the same imagery.
Yeah.
I
Um,
think that's really cool. The one thing she keeps saying, and it's even right now, Susie, is that moment on the boat when, I mean, it was an instant. And I mean, on the boat, him getting, I mean, this knocking, he's right-handed.
mhm.
He's right-handed. He's getting his sword, and it's as he's coming up with it, something breaks his arm. It's so powerful, it causes this to happen. And it dropped, and somebody else picks it up, and just in one motion. Yeah, and it takes it doesn't take it all the way off.
Right.
And she can't breathe. She can't do anything. And everything's going through her head at once. Where are my children? You
Well,
know? I
yes,
can't scream. I can't do anything. It's
right.
like total terror, frozen.
Yeah, I think that was so much of
Oh, oh, look. Oh, God, it just
so much of what I have already written ties in directly with what you have gotten.
and I've not read what you've written.
No, you have not. No one's read
So
what.
I think it's neat because I think now this is why I understand why I was kind of driven to kind of start with her now, is to confirm that I'm getting the same images she's already given you
Yeah.
without me knowing that's what she's giving you.
When we, I just keep getting this when I'm writing. In fact, choosing whose point of view I'm using to tell what aspect of the story is something I've been kind of working out. And the fact, whoopsie, that was the wrong button on my chair. The fact that I feel a really, really, really strong connection to John Gillespie for some reason. And I think it's because I think he's such a strong, committed, yet impetuous character. He's driven by his sense of justice and what he thinks is right. I think her brother Daniel was much more measured, much more calculating in the way he went about his life, looking at the long range, the bigger picture, when John was much more reactionary.
Mm-hmm. And you can see how the brightness of that light's kind of confirming all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
I hear on point.
okay. Okay. I would like to know when you can get your thing back up and again.
Let me get my wing going.
If William, Jane and James' son William was their firstborn child. I know he was probably their firstborn son.
He's the firstborn child.
So he is older than Anne.
Yes. Here, let's go ahead and ask it. Those,
Was
I
William,
mean, she's not going to want to look. If we're going to start talking about birth order, she don't want to talk about it.
okay. Well, I did kind of need to know where William was in the family to write the story because the way everyone seems to look at him is important. And I think he carried that burden very seriously.
So you're getting yeses on that. So
And
your instincts are correct.
I think that might be one of the reasons he did not marry until very late in life.
There you go. You got confirmation. Yep.
Let's ask Jane if she ever met her son, little James' son. Did you ever meet your son, little James' son? No. Did you know of his existence? Did you ever look for him? No. Okay. Was the family too consumed with dealing with the outfall of the tragedy? Yes. Okay, I already wrote that. Um, did you know that little James' wife had died? Was it some time after her death before you found that out? Okay. Did your daughter Anne and her husband live in the same house as you when you finally moved to the Cumberland? No. Okay. Did you spend most of your life living in the same house as your son Joseph in the Cumberland? Okay. Did you like Joseph's wife?
Hold on, it's changing.
Hmm.
It's changing again.
So
So there
the
you go. Yes and no.
not, yes, okay. Were you happy after they did the expedition that wiped out the village of Nickajack? Were you concerned your son decided to go with them? Did your son-in-law William go on the Nickajack expedition? Did your hmm,
Sometimes you got to give it time.
yeah. Did your son-in-law James Hamilton go on the Nickajack expedition? Okay. Was your daughter-in-law Elizabeth, Joseph's wife, was her brother wounded in that expedition? Did he die from those wounds? Was his name Joshua? Were you emotionally close to your sister-in-law, Jane Brown Porter? Were you emotionally close to your mother-in-law, Peggy Brown? Was your mother-in-law, Peggy Brown, already in the Cumberland when you and James took off on the boat to get there?
Hold on. I don't know why it's a yes and a no.
Was she traveling overland with,
There you go.
did she travel overland with William Anderson and Daniel? Huh. At the same time that you were traveling on the river.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is it was a much slower pace. A slower pace. They were going to take it as they needed to. I don't know if we're talking the same time, if we're talking within a period of time, but I hear over and over it was a slower pace. Don't, you'll have to ask her to give you that information when it's time to write it.
Okay.
We'll talk to Peggy. We'll talk to her.
Oh yeah, we got all kinds of questions for her.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So anything else about that video that I did last night that is interesting?
um, no, I just think it was really interesting that you had come up with the person that was killed. I think it's interesting that if they're really, if the information that we got today about Sarah is true, why Joseph never mentioned it.
I have no idea.
I mean, he didn't like to mention much that didn't have to do with him, but
Well, he is a misogynist. It is a girl, so
right. Well, but you know, he talked about how Mary didn't want to leave her Indian mother, and he had to basically pull her away from him or
Mm,
away from her and take her kicking and screaming.
mhm.
Um, but then again, he didn't talk much about
So I just looked up linseed paint. There apparently is linseed oil paint. Pretty much a forever paint
there it is.
without needing to be reapplied. Doesn't flake or peel. Has a very strong smell. Well, there you go.
Interesting. That's funny. Okay, well, I guess back to work.
Right. And you were saying what else now? You found something interesting that I had said that you'd already done something with?
Oh, about that Mrs. Bay's being killed.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
You said that you thought that they had killed someone, and then I went off to the daughter that didn't come back, which hasn't shown up anywhere.
Is that Sarah?
Yeah. Um, in any of the different narratives. So it'll be interesting to see if I can find anything on that. I don't think I will, because unless I stumble across something else, because I feel like I've dug and dug and dug to get all the all the information.
It sort of makes sense why they disappeared from history if the juju is correct, right? With Daniel and this other girl, this Sarah, right? Because if Daniel was in the wilderness and fell and had such injuries, if you think about it, who's he going to call? He doesn't have a satellite phone for help. You
Yeah.
know, if he can't move, he's going to die.
Yeah.
And that's why we never heard from him again. And I do feel he died. He was out in the wilderness, something happened, and he died.
Yeah. Well, that makes a perfect sense.
And
Yeah.
then with the little girl, I feel like she's just running, and it's just like this, somebody's just, I don't know, doing whatever Indians do,
Well,
practicing, you know,
that
and
makes
she's just at the wrong place at the wrong time.
that makes sense. But I guess what doesn't quite line up to me is the fact that all these other children ended up in the narrative in some way mentioned.
I don't know, Susie, I can't tell you.
Yeah. So
We'll have to have a discussion with Joseph.
please no. I have a feeling that one will probably not give us any information we're interested in, but it'll be plenty that he's interested in.
So let me see if I can tune in and have Dad give me some information later.
Okay.
Let's go back later. I'm not going to be able to do it now.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna get back to my making up stories as I do.
Right. Um, Hester. Hester. Yeah. Standing right behind you. All
Yep. Well,
right.
we're getting ready to have their little meeting, Hester and James P.
Okay, well, just flow with it. Like I said at the end of that video, Dad is right there with you. Trust what you get.
I will. I will.
Okay. All right. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, thanks.
Uh-huh.
Bye.